Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
This episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is sponsored by the children's book Feathers Matter. As our kids grow up, they face challenges in their life, and knowing their self-worth and their value is crucial to face the headwinds. Purchase this beautiful story to read to your kids and grandkids and start the conversation with them at a young age. They are worthy, they matter, and their feathers matter. You can find the link to order on our Blended, Blessed, alwaysamess.com page. Mention code #blessed for an autographed copy. Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where we are coming at you and you got a beautiful tan. You're glowing, honey, and you look incredible. I mean, I couldn't be just, oh my gosh. I'm going to get upstairs and hug you.
I feel like you're kissing some ass because we were having some air wars going on.
No, I'm not. I'm just speaking truth. You look beautiful.
Well, I'm hot.
Yeah,
I'm hot
I know that. That's what I'm saying to people. Woo, she's hot.
The temperature in our house is too hot. Because some tight ass person keeps turning the air off, thinking it's going to be like,
I mean, it's 60 some degrees outside. It's 60 degrees. I mean, if we crack a couple windows, we're going to save some money.
No.
We're doing it like when we were growing up.
I don't think you want me to be this hot on a Friday for $10.
You know what?
Because it's 78 degrees in our house right now.
No.
Yes, it is.
Maybe upstairs, but not downstairs where I'm just everybody hang in the basement for a while.
The AC is now on and we will not be turning it off.
I mean,
this is one way to start a podcast.
I'm just, here's what I would ask. Here's what I'd ask. Because I know people are listening right now. They're like, oh yeah, like I turn it off or my husband turns it off, because you can save money. Like you don't need it all the time, especially this time of year is a beautiful time of year to have your windows open a little bit, get some fresh air in the house.
So that makes sense when your house has every room that you could open up windows, but our house isn't designed that way. So our bathroom windows, none of them open. Hot as hell in there.
Sure, the bathroom.
Our living room, none of the windows open. It is 78 degrees in the house. So I get saving money, not right now, but maybe in a few weeks you can actually turn it off.
Well, I would just say that
not whenever our house must be insulated very well, is what I will say. Something, because it is not designed to flip the air on and off.
Okay. Can we also say, though, before I got home, you took a bath, and you take your baths in scalding hot water. So you're internally heated from your bath as well.
I was already hot.
I'm just pointing out facts. That's fine. I know, Chase.
And
I know.
The thermostat says 78, so I don't think 78.
Well, that may be upstairs. Cool. But the downstairs thermostat's not reading that.
I'm not hanging out downstairs. I'm upstairs in the kitchen.
And we do have windows in every room downstairs. So I'm just, downstairs is good. All right. Can we agree? Downstairs is good. Perfect.
I don't know.
All right. Downstairs is good.
Anyway.
And if you've ever purchased something that you thought to yourself,
we're switching topics.
I'm trying to. I'm attempting. If you've ever purchased something and then thought to yourself afterwards, why did I wait this long to purchase it? We're in that club. I mean, we are in that club. What's something you did several years ago?
Well, I would say for me, like I'm the type of person that if I need something or want something, I just go get it. So I can't say that it's happened too many times to me, but I'm sure we've all done this where you go without something for a long time, not even really thinking anything about it. And then you get it. And then you think, whoa, why did I not ever purchase this before? So I think I've shared this story, but longer ago, I finally bought a really good mattress. Someone had pointed out to me once of it's like the oldest freaking mattress, shitty mattress. It was like, you spend a lot of money on your vehicle to drive, but not investing in a good mattress. Why would you not do that? Anyway, ended up going and buying. Well, my back was bothering me. Is this whole conversation about mattress. And so I ended up going and buying one that's amazing. And I still have it today. But after the first week of having it, it was this is so stupid. Why didn't I buy this a long time ago? Something you use every night. So that's my aha moment. My one good purchase that I regretted not doing sooner. What about you?
I mean, I would say for me, the only one I can think of is recently in the last couple of years where we bought the bag chairs that have rockers. And then just now, finally, bought some stadium chairs. We let Carter go all the way through high school playing sports without a stadium chair. Summer's been playing forever. I mean, even you've had Chase with different sports that he's played. Dane's played baseball forever. Finally, we bought those stadium chairs that you take in and sit in.
Yeah, it was dumb. We went to the game, Dane's game, and it's I don't understand why we have never purchased these before. Because they're actually good for your back. They were comfy. You could just sit there and watch a game a lot longer versus being uncomfortable. Just crazy that sometimes we don't prioritize our comfort over other things.
I mean, I was trying not to laugh as you talked about your mattress because I buy the cheapest mattresses ever still to this day, and I love them. And even mine, the one that Chase sleeps in now was mine. And Carter slept in it. Chase slept even Summer when she's up there. This is the most comfy mattress of all time, and it's super cheap.
Well,
anywho, but that just goes back to I'm a tight ass, and all it's true. So you're right. When it doesn't happen to you often because if you want something, you just buy it. I want a lot of things, but I don't buy them. So getting a little baggy chair that rocks, that's a big purchase for me.
Well, and I'm not even saying that purchases have to be expensive. It's buying something that you actually need, but you have put it off. Because I agree, that mattress is super comfy and wasn't expensive, but it's comfortable. We laugh because we got those stadium chairs. They're not even they're that expensive. And it's
amazing.
Why did we not purchase this before?
Yeah, silly on our parts. Yeah, and we had a first last week. I mean, it feels like we're just going into a kind of different stage in life a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we definitely recognize it. We're trying to navigate a different stage, but it also, I don't feel like I'm leaping into it. More feels like I'm dragging myself into it. It makes me smile and curious about where this next sort of life for us will go. I think it's that Ted Lasso quote of be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, it's kind of with apprehension of oh gosh, I don't know how this is all going to feel.
Yeah, no, I get it totally. And what we're talking about is last week we went to Lexi and her boyfriend Carson's house for the first time together. Lexi's 21, Carson I think is 23 now, and both have big kid jobs. And so Lexi moved in about 2 months ago, month and a half, 2 months ago, something like that. And so I'd been there once to help with a few things in the move. It's about 35, 40 minutes away from us. But Ange hadn't been. And so we decided we would go over there for dinner.
Well, they made us dinner. I think that's the first, right? Of you popped in there and helped with some stuff, but to go to your kid's house for dinner felt way different than, we've been over to her apartment and all of this stuff. It's just a different level in their life. It also makes me feel like I'm getting old when you can get invited over to your kid's house for dinner. But it's exciting for them. It's all these emotions because it's exciting for them. It's this new chapter for them. I remember it was yesterday being in my first house and inviting my parents over for dinner. It feels like a big deal. You're excited about having your own place and the things that you've done with it. And I enjoy hosting. So I felt that level of excitement for them. Of course, you blink and you're old of like, oh my God, here we are. Like this is a whole different level for us. Talking about all the emotions, of course, when you're driving home, like I felt sad because Hallie was always the leader. So she did everything first before any of the other kids. And we're also entering that stage where people are starting to do things, or kids are starting to do things that Hallie's not done before. So we're starting with the first things without her because she always led the way. Naturally, the oldest, you're kind of the first in a lot of things. And so those moments are diminishing when others take the lead, and they're doing an awesome job at it. But, you feel all the emotions. We did surprise Lexi with my mom and dad. They came along with us, so that was fun. Lexi did not expect that. And Carter was there too for dinner, and it's just a cute house and made my heart smile just being proud of them. But also, driving home, it's like you reflect, and there's always that ache that will be there. And part of me that, started to feel like that little anger again of like, God, you could have had something like this. And then I dialed it back because I didn't want a dead bird to show up on my porch. So I'm like,
we can't keep doing the dead bird thing for sure. I'm glad you kind of went, whoo-wee. Yeah. But it's not just like Lexi moving away. Like all the kids are getting older and in different stages, right? And so it's like we're not in empty nest, but you can see where we're in a come and go nest, if that would be a way to say it. Because Carter, he's off at college, but then last night he popped in for like 20 minutes, wanted to eat some food and borrow my boots. And so he just like calls and pops in, but then he's gone. Who knows when we'll see him again, right? I mean, that's just kind of the ebb and flow. He may show up Sunday morning for church and then hang out for the day. He may not. But again, he's going to turn 19 in about a week and a half. And so there's not a whole lot you could do about that. No. And then the twins get ready to start driving. And then Dane's 14 and he's got a little girlfriend. He's always wanting to see her or his buddies. And so we are doing a lot of that. And I know for you, having a boy, like when we first met, Chase felt like he was the man of the house because you'd been divorced for a while. And so that was something between me and him to work out, which we've done over the years. But it also means that, you go from having a little boy that wants to snuggle with mama and do all those things. And now he's kind of a big kid and he likes to argue with you a lot and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think moms and sons have a different, unique relationship, just like, fathers and daughters can have a unique relationship. And I think Chase and I, it has been unique because he's the only boy. And I lived alone for 5 years and he was the guy. And we had a super close relationship when he was little till, we're close now, but like when he was probably 0 to 10, 11, 12, he shared all kinds of things with me. At night, our favorite thing was to watch TV, and I'd hear all about his day. He was almost more of a talker when he was younger than what Summer was. I knew everything about, what he had going on in his life and all of that. The good, bad, the ugly, right? Like moms get all the emotions from their kids when there's like that trusted network, that trusted environment, that safety for them. But I have struggled lately because I feel this like pull away. And I think also because he has to ride with me in the car, like I get time with him. But as he gets closer to 16, he can't wait to drive. And, he's going to be working and he's got sports coming up with wrestling, all those things. Like I know I've been through this before. I know when they get the keys, you don't see them very often. And so there's already this like pulling away feeling where he doesn't share a lot with me. He does like to argue with me. And so anytime I'm like, I don't know what this next stage is. I know how to navigate the girl stage because I've been through that. I try to learn more and dig into it. And I came across this article, and I've seen it in other spots too. So it made me want to like double click into it of like the different stages that boys go through. I'm not a boy. I don't know. I have no idea. Like I know how girls can think and connect and all of those things, but I have no clue when it comes to a boy. And it had described these stages of like the explorer is like ages 2 to 4. The lover is like ages 5 to 8. And I loved this stage because he loved his mama. Loved his mama. And so like just wanted to snuggle up with me on the couch and all the things. And
that's
then
actually the stage that I'm in right now with you. I'm
I
in
don't
the
think
lover
you've
stage.
ever gotten out of that stage.
Okay. I didn't know. That's where
stuck
I'm at with you.
You're stuck in the age 5 to 8.
I love it. I think it's great. I mean,
and then there's the individual stage, which is ages like 9 to 12, where they're like searching. And I could definitely, I feel like he was obviously in that stage when you and I met, where they're searching, they're trying to figure out like masculinity and what it means to be a man and all of those things. And they feel all the things, and they starting to want a little bit more time alone. They maybe withdraw from mom a little bit at that stage. And so as I'm reading this, I could totally see that. And then you get into the wonder stage, which is like ages 13 to 17. And like, I love to learn all about this because it makes me feel like, for one, I'm not crazy, but it helps give me guides to know like how to navigate this. And for one, like not take some of this stuff personally, because there's a part of me that thinks, God, I don't think he even loves me anymore. Like what?
Yeah. We've got 2 in this stage of the wanderer stage right now. And I think that about Dane all the time. Like, this kid hates my guts.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not going to try to like, I did enjoy reading through this to give some ideas as to what obviously I live this, and I've been a boy. I've gone through these stages, and just a nice reminder, because it has been 30 years since I was 13 and the boys are 14 and almost 16. So it's been a hot minute since I've gone through this phase. And so these reminders of like, oh yeah, no, I get that. I thought it was a really good read.
The article for this particular stage, the wanderer stage, that's ages 13 through 17, starts out by saying that you need 3 things to get through this stage: prayer, chocolate, and the ability to laugh. I'm like,
right?
No shit.
Yeah.
It also talks about how your son becomes the worst version of himself during these years. It's like the invasion of the body snatchers stage, in which this like tender, funny, happy-go-lucky little guy turns into this angry, argumentative, grumpy little clone. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's so true. So like, it helps me understand like, okay, what is really going on? Because they want their independence. They become very like self-centered. They are confused because they go back and forth between wanting parents to be involved versus like wanting them to leave them alone. And I feel that all the time.
I mean, Dane wants to fight with me all the time. I literally feel like all he wants to do is argue. Right
in the middle of that, for sure. And they are kind of like a walking contradiction, like I said, where they want the parents to be close. They want to feel valued, but then at the same time, they're also like pushing you away. But here's the thing that it talked about that also like helped both of us as parents, is like, they need the autonomy, but they also need responsibility and opportunities to help them figure out who they are, because they're trying to piece together masculinity and trying to find their own identity. So in order to do that, they kind of have to be different people to figure out like what feels right for them.
This part was big because I thought the part about in this section is true. Like, they're trying to figure this out. And this is where, we go back to that book that we read 2 or 3 years ago, where like, if you're not on their team, they're going to be on somebody's team. And this is that age where they're wrapping themselves up with friend groups. And so you want to make sure that your boys, your sons at this age, have good friends. Get to know their friends, right? Don't just say, well, I'm hanging out with so-and-so. Well, have that kid over to the house so you can meet them, get to know them, right? Figure out who their families are. Because this is a formative stage for them where they're trying to figure themselves out, and they're going to end up forming hopefully good friend groups at this time that are going to become big influencers in their lives.
Yeah, they need boundaries. Like, an example, Dane wanted to have some buddies over tonight, actually. It's Friday night. It's not our normal Wednesday date night. We'll get to that in a second. But we have a point to where we're going with all this. But he wanted to have like 4 or 5 kids over, spend the night. And Aric and I talked and was like, we don't know who these kids are. Okay. So we do want to meet them and get to know them. But here's the meet you in the middle. You can have them over, but they can't spend the night. Like, we want to get to know them first, and then we can determine like if it can go beyond that. So they really need hard boundaries to be enforced, and they also need like that responsibility and chores, even though they don't love it. This article definitely talked about how important that is for them to have responsibility.
Gave me some validation, because I always feel like they think, and even at times you think, that I'm the hard ass. And there was validation here of like, they need responsibility at this age. Because if you don't teach it to them here, then they're going to be adults on their own that didn't learn it. And so
I think
it was interesting.
The other part that stuck out to me was the arguing side of it, because Chase should be an attorney. The dude loves to argue, but I will say there's a lot of healthiness to arguing. It's like a natural way for them to develop, and they're really trying to separate themselves out, which you ultimately do want. You do not want them to be so connected to you that they can't see themselves as an individual. And so it's kind of their natural way, because it said they'll argue for the sake of arguing. What? I have never heard that before.
It's like, come on.
Oh my gosh.
So, but they do need, what do they need, right? They need other voices. So they need like a youth leader in a church. Maybe it's a good coach. Could be a teacher, a counselor. Maybe it's not a immediate parent, but still a family member, like a grandfather or an uncle that they love and respect. Those kind of folks are going to be great. And this article says youth group attendance should not be optional. And I have thought for a while, and I know it's because they go back and forth, in a divorced home, but we probably have done all of our kids, Carter included, a disservice in not having them be part of like the kids crossing, the stuff at the teenage nights they have at the crossing, our church, things like that. I think it would be a great opportunity for them to get to know some other people that are in the church and good influences. Not that they have bad friends. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, this says youth group shouldn't be optional. I kind of see why they're saying it.
Yeah. They definitely at this age are seeking those people to look up to, and they want to separate themselves from their parents. So then it's like, okay, to your point, are they going to rely on friends to look up to, or are you going to make sure that they're surrounded by mentors, coaches, and the right people that they can look up to and get guidance from, whether they're actually asking for it or it's witnessing it, like, and watching what they're doing. They need a lot of outlets too. Like, you cannot let them be on their phones a lot. Like, they need that physical activity outside of sports, because sports it's a good release for them, but also it might not actually be the best for them in some aspects if they really struggle with it. Right. So finding other outlets.
I thought this article had great ideas, like playing in a band or, weightlifting, biking. Maybe you have a child that's into martial arts or into building things. All of those could be good, active outlets for the teenage boy who's in the wandering stage of life. And then they're needing some understanding. So like, as we've already mentioned a little bit, they're kind of in a little bit of an impasse, and that they want to go two different directions, right? So both boys, they at times want to wander away from us, but then they also want to come home and have that close relationship. So this is where you talked about earlier, like this is a phase where adults have to be the adults here and not take everything personally, laugh off some things from time to time, but don't laugh. It's very clear. Don't laugh at them. Yeah. Because then you're going to make them mad, but you have to be able to laugh things off. Sometimes when we mess up, we've got to be the ones to ask forgiveness. And I've done that. Like I learned that a long time ago. You sometimes have to go to your children and say, I made a mistake here, and here's what I did. I'm sorry this happened. Here's how I'm going to fix that, because it does show them that in their own current relationships. But I hope that when they get older and they have their own spouse, they have their own children, that they'll be able to own up to their mistakes. Now, not like something little like the thermostat. Okay. That's not what we're talking about. But like, but something else that's bigger, then that's when I need them to be able to own up on things like that.
I think the hardest thing that they mention, what they need, is that steady, consistent, non-emotional response from parents. Because I can tell you, there's definitely times that I've like lost my shit because I get tired of the arguing back and forth. But I know you have not had that happen.
I used to have that a lot. I still do it occasionally, but I used to do it a lot. When Angie and I started dating, that was my method of parenting. It's like, this is what we're doing. You're doing it now. I don't want to hear another word. All of my kids would tell you that it's much different. It's calmer. Her children would tell you that it's calmer. And at the end of it, there's the pretty one. There's love. Yeah.
You need some money.
Yeah. Do you need money or what do you ask? Well, you look beautiful. If you're watching the YouTube video, Summer B just came up behind me and just said hello to everyone and gave me a sweet hug. And we're not talking about girls today, but I would say that girls need a lot of those. And that's Polly, our dog. But girls need a lot of these same things. Just there are tweaks, obviously, but it's important that with the boys, we pay attention and give them love, kindness. We show them patience, compassion, and grace, because I think not only do they need it, but they're qualities that we want them to have to be able to give to their wives and their daughters, sons too. But I think a great compassionate man with a son, definitely. With a daughter is, we lack a lot of those great men in this world. But when you can learn that, and it can be learned, right? You can learn compassion, that it can really be a difference maker. And it starts by showing it to your kids at this age. And they need us to pray for them. That's in this article. And I pray for our whole family pretty much every day by name. I pray for Angie. I pray for all the kids. I'll pray for family members, things like that. But I think it's very important that you pray for people by name and then something specific, right? So like I may pray for Dane that he would understand that I'm trying to teach him a work ethic and that him and I would be able to communicate about that in a way that would be pleasing to God. Same thing with Chase. I may pray that he builds a strong relationship with his mom because I know how much she loves him, that he surrounds himself with boys that are to keep him safe as they start driving around, right? So things like that.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this topic up and just dive into it, especially for the moms with sons, because I know it's challenging to navigate because we don't know what it's like, and you always want to keep your kids close, but the sons are the ones that typically want to leave, right? And create their own family. And that's hard. And I'm like trying to wrap my brain around it and prepare myself for it because I'm like, have this countdown and I hear the countdown of like, 45 more days until I turn 16. And I just know that's a pivot point. But then fast forward.
Pastor Shay always says for the men, it's leave and cleave. So you leave your mom and you cleave to your new family is Old Testament scripture. And so, yes, honey, it's coming. And I'm in that regard. I see that myself, right? Like I attach myself more to you and your family, to our family first. When I was younger and married for the first time, I still was super attached to my mom and dad. My dad was still alive. I was super attached to all of that when I should have been invested in my own family, because that's your job as a man, is to start this family and still care about your families. But your birth family should not be your priority at that point in time. And so we're teaching our boys that too, or you should be. It's like you're going to leave and cleave, start your own family, but then you tend to, because moms are close with, or your wife is close with her mom a lot of the time, then as a man, you tend to go that way as well, right? Like I spend a lot of time with your mom and dad, and I love spending time with them. So it makes it easy, but I think a lot of that's because I enjoy being around you. And so we're preparing ourselves for, where I'm going with this, is that Carter and Chase and Dane, as they get married, most likely are going to go with their wife, where I expect Summer will stay with mama. But that's just the history. If you're paying attention to the history of how things work with kids, 8 to 9 times out of 10, that's how it works. That's not every time, but probably 8 to 9 times out of 10. Yeah.
So I'm just preparing myself for that and feeling him pull away. And you fast forward to this week. So Wednesday mornings, I take the kids to school, and then they go to their dad's Wednesday and Thursday. And so this Wednesday, Aric and I had 2 nights of travel planned for my work. And so on the way to school, Chase is like, Mom, I do not feel good. Like, I just feel off. I feel like I could throw up. I'm like, oh man, what do you want to do? Because it never fails. I feel like when my kiddos get sick, they're not with me. And like, I'm a mama that's going to swoop in and take care of you when you're sick. And so I'm like, well, do you want to go back to my house? He's like, no, I'll go to Dad's because I'm supposed to go to Dad's today anyway. And so he gets sick. He throws up many times, runs a high fever. But then Wednesday evening, he starts feeling better. And we're in St. Louis for a dinner. And then we're headed to Nashville the next morning. I had some meetings down there. And then Aric and I were just going to spend some time in Nashville Thursday night, come back Friday, like quick trip.
It's going to be a nice date night. Super excited.
Little date night Thursday night. So then we wake up Thursday morning and go to the airport early. And I had a snap from Chase like at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Thursday morning, saying, Mom, I've been sick like half the night, dry heaving. My head hurts so bad. I'm like, oh my gosh. So then we head to the airport and I call him. It's like probably 5:30, 5:45. Yeah. I'm like, dude, that sucks. He's like, I know. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, do you want me to not go? And he's like, no, you can go. I mean, well, you can do what you want, whatever you want. And I'm like, okay, there's a little window of like, he doesn't want to say that he wants his mom, but he actually doesn't want his mom. I'm like, well, okay, just like keep me posted, So then we get to the airport, getting ready to go through security. And his dad texts me that he's got 104 temperature and still throwing up. So it's day 2. And I'm like, oh gosh, he probably needs some fluids. Like he's probably dehydrated. I'm like, what do you think I should do? Well, he didn't really have an answer for me either. And so anyway, I'm like looking at Aric, like, I don't know what to do. Those moments, like, you're at a decision point. You got to decide. I have about 45 minutes to make a decision.
We're standing there trying to decide if we should go through security at this point.
Yeah, right.
But I'm going to tell you right then and there, I already knew before we made the decision how this day was going to go because I know Angie and I knew when she was talking to her ex-husband and after she talked to Chase in the car, like there's a part of me that was like, I don't even know why we're parking this car, but I was just following your lead. So I definitely didn't push us through security because I had a feeling we weren't going to need it. And so then I just messaged Chase and I'm like, okay, I've got like 40 minutes to decide before we would board. Just let me know what you want me to do. And he snapped back and said, Mom, I would appreciate it if you didn't go, but you can do whatever you want. And I'm like, yep, I'm out. I'm a mom first. And this is a kid that he's not going to be wanting his mom too many more times. Yeah. So we headed to the car. So yeah, we canceled our flights, headed to the car and drove to meet them at the ER. So took him to the ER instead of urgent care in case he needed fluids. They can't do that urgent care. So we were advised just to go to the ER. And we spent from, I don't know, we got there at 8:30 to 11:30 probably in the ER and got some anti-nausea and ran a bunch of tests and got his fever under control and gave him some meds and I took him home. Bad flu. So we've been washing sheets all day and trying to get rid of all the germs if we can. But, at the end of the day, that's part of entering into our kids' worlds at this age. And the article really talks about doing that with Wanderers. And so, it's just being there for him, showing up. I told him last night after you went to get Summer from soccer, because I've said this to him a couple of times in the last week, but I went into his room and I said, how you feeling? He's like, I'm okay. I said, well, can I get you anything? No. I said, well, I just want to reiterate something I said to you earlier this week. I said, if that had same thing happened to me today when I was your age, my mom would have hopped on that plane and said, your grandma's got it. You're with your grandma. You're good. And I said, but your mom, I knew we were coming home before you ever said to come home. So I said,
here's
just
what I
know
would
how
say
your mom
about
feels
that.
about you.
In the past, I would have had, our timeline before Hallie. I would have probably had a little bit more anxiety over canceling because I would have felt like I'm not doing my job or I'm letting someone down or whatever, like my value focus with work. But I had zero. Like it was an easy decision for me. And I posted on our social media this week of a statement of my heart might be broken, but my vision is fixed. And my vision is so clear that there's nothing more important than when my kids need me, that I'm there for them, especially in this wonder stage where they're not really sure if they want their mom or they not. But man, if your kids ask in that wondering stage, like, Mom, I would like for you to be there. I mean, there's nothing more important than your kids. Like, I am a mom first. And I think losing a child locks your sight in more than ever. You know what matters, and there's no second guessing.
Yeah, I think you're 100% spot on with what you put on our social media this week about our vision being fixed. Like, we both see that there's something different. I took a walk with a guy today that I've worked with off and on for 15, 20 years on different projects. And we were just catching up, seeing if there was anything going on. And in the process, he's 45 or 7. I don't remember. He's a little bit older than I am. Been divorced a couple of years and making some different life moves. And was talking about what really matters and what doesn't. And, for me, I said, yeah, I get where we've done all the big things, right? If you were to say to me at 43 years old, would you feel like you've still got more to do? Yes, I do. But it's not like, I don't ever want to build a bigger house than what we live in now, right? Like, there were all those years in my 20s and my 30s where I was chasing something bigger, like the bigger house, the bigger car. And then when you lose a child, you lose Hallie, things start to get in perspective real quick. And so you're looking for something else. I mean, we've prayed and we've prayed and we've prayed and we've asked Jesus why. And we've asked Jesus, what do we do next? And we've asked Jesus, am I in the right place? And we don't always know that. But then this past Sunday night, our small group met. And thankfully, we were able to go because we didn't have anything for once. We didn't have a kids' sporting event that we were out of town for. And they brought in a couple who had been missionaries in Guatemala. They still are, but they actually lived there for 9 years from 2012 until 2021. And then now they come and go and they live there, what they say, like 9 months out of the year now or something like that. They're home at least 3 months out of the year, seeing grandkids and things like that. And they're in their 70s, but they had a nice life, but then they started finding like fulfillment when they just uprooted themselves and moved to Guatemala. And so this is the podcast where Angie and I tell you that we're moving everyone to Guatemala, all of our kids. They don't know it yet, but that's where we're headed.
They're going to love it.
It's going to be great. We're living on the side of a mountain, dirt hut, adobe. No, it was a powerful evening listening to their story and what they got from the citizens up in the mountains.
Yeah. For me, I mean, especially as we talk about this stage that we're in and we have all these wanderers living in our house, it forces you to think about your purpose and your mission and how do you really make this life count even more. And, we're both growth mindset people. So it's not like we're okay being stagnant. Like, I feel like we're always challenging ourselves. And as our kids don't need us as much, I'm just wired of like letting life flow. But I do feel like that there's always room to live a fuller life for whatever that looks like for you. And I think one of the things that they shared that really stuck out and made me tear up, because I always say, like, you travel the world and 95% of the people you come across want the same things out of life that you do. None of us are that much different from each other. And it's this group of Mayans. And he shared the story of this mom that had 4 daughters and she had nothing because the husband left. And in that culture, the women don't really matter, right? And so the husbands might run off because they have 4 daughters and he needs a son, right? And so she had nothing. And obviously needing food was a no-brainer. And the guy that spoke at our small group said he had asked, like, what, obviously you need food, but like, what else can we do for you? And she's like, I want peace. And I'm like, oh my God, like me too. Like you can have all these things in the world, or you could have nothing. But what me and this other mom both want is peace in our hearts. And so it's just this like aha moment of like everything connects and it's so clear. It's so clear. But like loss and extreme grief, it will make you question you. It will make you question your purpose and your why and all of that. And it's not a bad thing. I will tell you, I will go on a mission trip.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, like
wait.
that's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer that
what
happen.
I think what we learn from that is don't go there thinking that you're going to fix something for them. Go there and listen and learn about them. Let them share with you, and it's going to change your heart. Yeah, they're going to teach you and me rather than us going there and teaching them anything. That's not what you're going for. You're going so that we can learn from them and help, right? But really, it's opening our hearts and seeing what they see. And yeah. Well, you got things you're grateful for this week, or?
I do. A couple of things, actually. I, for one, am grateful that I was not already on the plane when Chase got sick, because I would have been sick myself if we had landed and then he was like in the ER. I'm grateful for a company that puts family first. That's our motto. I never have to worry about that. We always say that across the board of like family first. And then I'm also grateful for you for having a husband that rolls with whatever needs to happen. I mean, because I was reflecting on this week. Like, I know you were so looking forward to having a date night with me. I was looking forward to it too, but like you didn't get upset. You didn't. It's like, well, this is what we're gonna do. You spent like 3.5 hours in Jeff after we'd been to the airport and drove back and went to the ER. I mean, you will do whatever it takes for our family and not be upset about it. I mean, I don't know, I'm just super grateful that you are wired that way and show up no matter what that looks like.
I would just say thank you. For one, I didn't know you were going to say anything like that. Very sweet. And I'll probably listen back to this a couple times when I'm editing it because it was super nice. But
you're going to save the clip and just replay it every night.
That's right. We're going to put it on our social media. She said this. She was very sweet. No, this goes back to, for me, something we talked about probably season 1 of our podcast, is that when we started dating, I had dated before and I dated women with kids because I had kids, and I refused to meet anybody's kids because I knew if I started dating somebody and they had kids, that kid would get attached to me. Maybe I would get attached to the kid more so than the female. So I just didn't meet anybody's kids. But as soon as I was dating, I knew I wanted to meet your kids. And I know people don't always think, they don't understand what I'm saying. Because a lot of people are in blended families with they would call step kids. I call bonus kids. We always call bonus kids on this. I love your kids like my own. And even at your birthday, a couple weeks back, my kids all said about you that they love that you love them like they're your own. And so Chase was sick. I wasn't going to go to Nashville when he's going to the ER. Come on. So we're going to get in the car. We're going to go take care of him and take care of him. Last night. I mean, I noticed even too, I was paying attention to the roles, right? Like I used to try to take a bigger role in taking care of him because I like playing doctor and taking care of kids, but I knew he wanted that from his mom. And so I was going to let you do that. But it was, for me, it was a no brainer that we were going to come home, even though, I wanted the time with you, but we got to take care of kids and they're not going to be here forever. And so I would just say for me being grateful this week, I was grateful for the 12-hour date that we got. We got about a 12-hour date. And so I did enjoy that time together. And hopefully we can reschedule something and get a rain check. Grateful this weekend that, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that we have a fairly low-key weekend and can be able to get some things done around the house. I can read a little bit, work on some things for work, I hope. But fingers crossed. And then also just grateful that God is giving me a heart. I don't know how to explain what I'm going to say next, but I do feel like whether it's just being super chill about leaving the airport and knowing where I have to be, or a lot of things with kids, a lot of things with work, God's given me an opportunity or an ability maybe to see clearer over the last several months. And that's with, I started with my overall health, and it's physically, and it seems to be continuing with some mental clarity emotionally. And I'm just grateful that he is, as weird as it is to say, I mean, I probably don't have any of these things happening if we aren't going through this crappy season of life that we're in. And so, they always say God has a purpose for everything. And, I've often said Hallie's always taught me more than I ever got to teach her. And so she's still doing that for me almost 2 years after we lost her. So grateful that God is opening my eyes in a lot of ways. That is what we have for this week. And I say I hope it's going to be chill, but Angie and Summer are going to Friday Night Football to watch her boyfriend. Summer's, not Angie's.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be editing the podcast and doing more laundry because we have more sheets that have to be washed and blankets that Chase germed all up. And so I'm going to be doing chores around the house and probably listening to music and watching mindless TV while I work. So that's what we have.
Sounds
but
perfect.
we hope that you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for listening always, and God bless.
Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.